In this chapter, we're going to talk about the old way versus the new way. We're mostly talk about where does traffic come from, the old way or the new way, right? And then why does this matter? So where does traffic come from? The old versus the new. So the old was, direct mail, catalogs. Um, we still get advertisements in the mail, but I really don't know why. Most of it, I just throw it right away. Um, but we still got direct mail, but that's a little in the past, right? Um, Catalogs. I don't even know if they still do catalogs, honestly. I don't know why you would when you can just go online and then have the catalog all right to you. I understand an online catalog, which here we go. Direct mail is now email, right? Just literally think of how many emails you go through, quick, easy correspondences. Imagine if you had to send a letter every single time. One that is so unbelievably slow. Right? We forget that in my lifetime, I'm 37, so in my lifetime, there was a time where email did not exist. There was a time before cell phones, right? To where direct mail, just think how slow everything was, right? So direct mail, you have to pay for like postage. Now I think it's 30 cents for a stamp. I could be wrong. It's been so long since I've bought a stamp. I don't know how much it is, right? Now, back in the day, like you got to think for these little packages, because just a little letter might be 30 cents. But if you were to send a piece of paper in a manila folder, like one of the bigger ones, it's $1 to send a piece of paper. Just one piece of paper costs $1. So these old campaigns, the direct mail campaigns, it could cost them anywhere from 30 cents for maybe a small postcard to $10 for a packet, right? Now, when you compare that to email, how much does email cost? To send out bulk emails, I think my service is maybe like $10 a year or maybe $10 a month. Something so small is not even, I don't even notice it. And I think the reason I had to pay is because I have more than one account, right? If I only had one, I don't even think I had to pay. But I wanted more. $10 is not enough to really cry about when you think of comparing it to the old way of doing things. Networking. Now, the old way of networking is you had to spend an entire night at an event, dress up. But just think of church, right? That's, every Sunday everybody dresses in their Sunday best and they go sit down and they network and they talk, and you have to spend money for new clothes. You got to find if this isn't for church, right? If it's for a different event, we're just using church as an example of a networking environment. But if this is a more expensive networking environment, right? Like, or not religious networking environment, if it's a school networking environment, if it's a work networking environment, if it's just a networking environment, you like books, so you're going to a book event like convention, right? All this costs you money, your travel expenses, your babysitter to find someone to watch your kids or your dog. I don't have any kids, but I can't really leave because I have a dog, right? So dog sitter, spend money to buy clothes, right? All that is expensive. But now I don't have to leave the house to join groups, right? To build my social network. I don't have to go anywhere. I can stay in the house and either go to Facebook, go to Pinterest, go to Clubhouse, go to hold on. Let me see which ones are out there. We can go to Medium, we can go to Azar, we can go to Baidu, we can go to LiveJournal, Skyrock, Whisper, Tumblr, LinkedIn, Viber. Hey, you get the point. There's so many different social networks out there where you don't have to leave the house. So the old way of doing something was expensive. You had to leave the house, you had to plan for it, everything. The new way of doing things, sit down on the computer and just Google it or Baidu it. But you just seeing if you're taking a class, you just watch me look through my phone, so you don't even have to use a computer now. You can look on your phone. And Apple has a watch where you don't even have to go on the computer or the phone. You can just go on the watch and you can join a social network. TV, old way, new way. YouTube and Roku, right? So in the olden days, TV ads were really, really expensive. $5 to $35 per 1,000 people locally, and $100,000 for 30 seconds on national TV. That's not counting the Super Bowl, right? So what is it? The Super Bowl is like $1 million or something. It was $1 million years ago, so it's probably more per minute, right? So TV is ridiculously expensive, opposed to YouTube, where you can, depending on where you're going, it could cost you 10 to 30 cents a click. At very most, I think it's cost like the most $1 per click for me, but the views are a lot cheaper. So because you have your views are calculated different than your clicks. So I think it's about average view for about 10 to 30 cents, but then the average click might be like $1, right? So compared to TV, ridiculous. And when you advertise on TV, yeah, you get to choose locally. But with YouTube, you can choose locally as well. And you don't have to have such a huge production for TV. You need a huge production. You need a lot of money. For YouTube, I can make something yesterday, or I can go outside, make a quick video, and within 15 minutes, it's up and ready to be reviewed for advertisements. There's no possible way I'd be able to do that with TV. But we're just using YouTube right here, right? But if I wanted to pop an ad, or just think of TikTok, you're not even allowed to make a video longer than a minute. But if you can make that video, I've seen people make a video in 5-10 minutes and it's ready to go. Access to millions of people, which TV, just to get $100,000 for $30 seconds on a national level, it's not that important, because one, you're not really pinpointing who you want. With today's world, with all the statistics, you really can dive in deep. All right, radio versus podcasts. $900 a week, sometimes more for larger markets. Right? So if you just want, I remember years ago, this is when I was 18, so I got more than 18 years ago. When I first had my first business, I think it was like $2,000 for us to get $2,500 for us to be on the radio, and they played it maybe like a few times, like a whole bunch the day of the event or whatever. They made us a whole bunch of promises. No, it was 18 years ago, but it wasn't. Yeah, it worked, but they brought us traffic, but it was only traffic because the radio station was giving stuff away for free to entice people to come down. They had absolutely nothing. They were not interested in my store. They were just interested in, getting the free stuff from the radio station, right? So I paid a lot of money to not really get any traffic, if that makes sense. I got a lot of traffic, but they were not there because they wanted to be there for my store. They were there to get whatever contest the radio was doing to get people down to my store, right? But nowadays, a podcast, you can negotiate. If you want to get on the radio, or if you want to get on a podcast, you might even negotiate for free, depending on how many followers they have, how large their personal network is. They might willingly do it. Interview, you guys have a great time, didn't cost you anything, right? And then the more you do, the larger network that you have, the more people that see you, then the more market, or the more notoriety you have, then you can command larger people to talk to you. So if you have one person on your podcast, or one person following, and you're trying to reach someone that's has a million, yeah, it's going to be expensive for you. But if you have a million and they have a million, probably not going to cost you anything, because you guys are coming to an agreement that, look, we're about even, and if we do this, it will be a mutual beneficial agreement for both of us, because my customers or my followers might like what you say, and your followers might like what I say, so we're just swapping. Now, newspaper. Local newspapers charge about $11 an inch, while New York Times is about $1.2 million, right? What's the equivalent to newspapers? A blog, right? Make it a news blog, right? Blogs talk to the blogger and work for your deal. Just kind of like with the radio and the podcasts. With a blog, you can talk to the person who owns the blog, right? You can advertise on that blog. You can talk to this person. You can even write about it. There's with a newspaper, with SEO, it is ridiculously easier than with newspapers. They have so many tools out there to where you can do keywords, you can do keyword analysis. There's everything that you can possibly do to help you obtain traffic if you do it in a strategic way, right? Opposed to a newspaper where you're just kind of willy-nilly and, well, we'll spend $1.2 million and I hope we get our money back, right? That's not that's a recipe for a disaster, rather. But with a blog, you can pay $50 for someone to write a blog about you, maybe 200 depending. That's not that much. All right, the internet has changed media-wise. And why does this matter? Now, we've gone through, let's go over it again. We've gone through direct mail versus email. We've gone through networking, the old way, versus social media. We've gone through TV to YouTube, like today's, just streaming services, whatever. Radio to podcasts, newspaper to blogs. Now, why does this all matter? You need to be the master of two. And email has to be one of them, right? We've talked about this intensively, how amateurs focus on what? That's right, the front end. Professionals focus on the back end. And we've talked about, in order to have a back end, you need email, right? That's the only way you can communicate your back end offers is through the email. So one of these that we just went over has to be email. You have to be able to conquer your email. If you can conquer your email, then you have a choice of what else you want to do. So think about what it is that you're good at. If you like to network and you are a talker, maybe Facebook is what's good for you, right? If you're comfortable in front of a camera, right? Which this is a little bit different than the Facebook, because Facebook it's more in the groups and socializing and talking and chatty and you got to be part of the world, right? But if you're used to if you're comfortable in being in front of the camera, you don't mind it. You don't mind talking in front of the camera. You don't bumble your words and be and it takes 30 minutes to do every take. If it takes you a lot of times to take a take, maybe Facebook or YouTube's not for you. But if you're a natural and you can naturally just turn the camera on, you're ready to go, and you can talk your way through anything, well, then maybe YouTube is perfect. Do you like the way your voice sounds? Maybe the podcast, right? Now, I've heard one of my friends from back in the day, he had such a great voice that a car company hired him, right? To just read the ads. They couldn't see him, but he could read the ads and they liked his voice, right? So if you have good voice, you have a commanding voice, I don't know, a great voice for talking, right? Then think of a podcast. People, if you have a real nasally noise as your voice, then maybe a podcast isn't the best thing for you, right? if you love to write and that's like your thing, you love to journal, you love to write, like all day long, your job should have been a newspaper, then write a blog, right? Just remember, whatever one that you choose, whether it's the network with Facebook, the YouTube, the podcast, or the blogger, you can choose any of those right there. However, the most important thing that you have to do is what? Correct. Be good at email. All right. Now that leads us to the next one, which is the attractive character.